This is Ray from Kaaz, USA. Today I'll be doing a Kaaz 2-way install into this S15 pumpkin. As you can see, I've already taken it apart, so I cannot film how I disassembled it, but on the next step I'll show you how it's done. Anyway, here's the old helical LSD I took out of the pumpkin. Here's the old cover, the left side bearing cap and the stub axle, the right side bearing cap and the stub axle, and the ring gear and ring gear bolts. And here's the beautiful gritty cover that's going to go on. And here's the new Kaaz 2-way. Good thing about the Kaaz 2-way unit for the older Nissan is that the bearings are already pressed on to the unit, so you don't need a press like this to install the bearing. And it also comes with new axle seals, and the kit will also come with the differential cover gasket. So basically you don't need to buy anything else additional for the installation. And if you have a vise, it will become very handy for you. If you are planning to get one that the jowl opens at least 6 inches, and this will become your third arm, and it will help you a lot down the line. I've had this vise for about 30 years now. It's still working good. This press is about 25 years old, still working good. I had to replace the pump once, but otherwise I don't know how many differentials I've done with this press. But anyway, before I get going, let me clean up this pumpkin a little bit so it will look good with the new gritty cover, and I'll come back to shoot the next step. Okay guys, now the pumpkin's all cleaned, so we're ready for install. But before I get into that, since I was not able to show the disassembly portion, I want to briefly explain how it's done. And it's pretty simple. You only need basic tools for that. And since I'm not a professional video guy, this is the first time I'm doing this too, so please bear with me. Some section might be hard to watch or listen, but I'll do my best. Okay, let's start with the disassembly portion. Okay, first you put your pumpkin on the workbench. Next, drain the oil so you don't make a mess. After you drain the oil, take the cover off. Next, what you need to do is remove the stub axle. And in order to do that, I normally use a bar like this. Let's assume this is in there. I go like this and just hammer it out. Do the same on both sides. Once that is done, the original diff will be sitting here. And I normally use a brass punch like this. Just tap tap on both sides, and when the diff is about 1/2 inch out, you should be able to grab the ring gear portion, which will be in here. Just grab the thing and just yank the whole thing out, and that's how I disassemble it. Anyway, the portion's done. So now I'm going to get into the section where you have to set up the bearing preload on the new differential. Many people don't realize they have to do this, and because everybody thinks about backlash, and they only think about that, so they don't pay attention to the bearing preload. And this is one of the most important part of the install, because if the preload is too loose, the whole diff is going to move around inside the pumpkin like this. Eventually it can destroy the final gear. Okay, and it can also destroy differential too, depending on how loose it is. Another scenario, let's say the preload is too tight. There's just too much of a preload. What can happen is the bearing can seize inside, and what happens is the bearing, the diff case will spin inside the bearing, and basically it will destroy the diff casing. Okay, another scenario, it can snap off the bearing head portion of the diff casing like this. Well, this one, it's a Mitsubishi Evo rear. The final gear broke and also broke the differential casing. But anyway, preload setting is very important. And this is how I normally do it. First, actually, I did this already before filming, but I'll explain how it's done. First of all, I installed the spacer and the original shim that was on the right side, inside. And then before you even mount the ring gear on, I want you to grab the diff with both bearing lace on, grab the whole thing, and slide it inside, like this. Okay, since I've done this already, I'll put the correct size shim in this. Goes in, and you just hammer it in, tap, 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 little by little. Okay, once this is in, okay, here's how you measure the preload. Stick the axle, stick one of the axle inside like this. Okay, then I don't have the tool right now since I loaned it to my friend, but make a tool that you can basically hook it up here so you can measure the resistance of the rotation. And then after that, once you make the tool, let's take this off. So at least you guys can get some idea. Okay, so once you make it adapter like this, use a torque wrench like this that can measure 0 to about 8-9 Newton meters, or 0 to about 70 or 80 inch-pound. And just rotate this, see how much resistance you have. And what you want to see is somewhere between 4 to 5 inch-pounds or 0.5 Newton meters. No more than that, no less. And that will be the perfect preload for the bearings. Now I'm going to get into the actual final gear install and then put the whole thing in. Okay, now let's put the ring gear onto the diff. It's just a red Loctite, a drop of red Loctite in between the ring gear bolt holes. This creates a good seal between the flange here and the ring gear. Some old guy installer in Japan about 20 years ago told me to do this, so I've been doing the same all the time and seems to do the job. Anyway, you line up the hole. Every ring gear is different. Some will slap on right away. some will be super tight. Majority of them will have some tightness, so you need to warm up the ring gear. It's almost putting in, but anyway, let's torque the ring gear a little bit. When you do this, make sure the rag or whatever you use underneath is not soaked up with brake cleaner or WD-40 or something like that that is flammable. I almost had a big fire one time, so just be careful. Within this video, I'm not going to show so much of the torquing or wrenching portion because it's boring, and I know most of you guys know how to do that. So anyway, this is how the ring gear is warmed up. On Nissan ones, you don't have to heat up so much. Sometimes the differential will just wiggle into the ring gear by itself when you warm it up. Some you have to kind of hammer it with a rubber mallet to make it go in. Should be good enough. Once it's fully in, you can move a little bit like this and align the hole perfectly. After this is done, please use red Loctite, okay? Once you put all the bolts in, just torque it down in the crisscross pattern. And I'll give you the torque spec later. That's it for the ring gear mount. Okay, now the ring gear is all mounted and torqued. Now it's time to put this inside the pumpkin. But before doing that, let me show you the torque spec again and backlash stuff. Please make a note of it. Most of the Nissan will be about same. S13, S14, S15, Z33, Z34, they're all same. And on this particular pumpkin, originally it had a 2.55 mil shim on the left and the right side was 2.15. I changed that to 2.45 and kept the same 2.15 on the right side to obtain the correct preload setting. So total shim thickness 2.45 and 2.15, and the total is 4.60. This number cannot change. Okay, if you alter this number, the preload setting will change. So no, it's not going to work. Make sure you keep this total thickness same. No matter what shim you change to adjust the backlash, the total thickness will stay same. Okay, now let's get into the actual install. Putting this back into the pumpkin is basically same procedure as when you did the preload setting. So let me do that right now. Okay, now I have the whole thing inside the pumpkin, and the backlash reading came out to 7,000, so exactly same as before I disassembled it with the original diff. Anyway, here's a little bit of the trick on using the dial gauge. when you move the ring gear up and down to get the backlash, the pinion flange kind of wiggles around a little bit and the reading will go off. So it's a little bit, sometimes a little bit hard to get the correct reading. So I normally stick a little pin or screwdriver like this and hold it against something so it will stay solid. And then while holding this, move the ring gear up and down to get the measurement. This is the best way for me, and I think it will be same for you guys. But anyway, the owner of this S15 do some drifting, so I'm going to tighten up the backlash a little bit. Well, one thing I forgot to mention about shimming, like I mentioned before, I changed the shim out to 2.45 on the left and 2.15 on the right. Now, since I have to tighten the backlash a little bit, I have to add some shim, increase the shim on the left and decrease on the right side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install 2.50 on the left side and then 2.10 on the right side. So 2.50 and 2.10, the total will be 4.6. So this will not change. So preload will stay same on the bearing, but the backlash setting will change. Okay, I have changed the shims, and I changed the backlash from 7,000 to 5,000. And I ended up using the original 2.55 mil shim on the left side, and I reduced the shim size to 2.05 on the right side. So total is still same, 4.6. So nothing has been changed on the preload, but the backlash has changed. And one thing I want to mention, when you tighten the backlash, generally the contact pattern will move from the center to the inner side of the ring gear. When you increase the backlash, generally the contact pattern moves towards the outside of the ring gear. It's just a small change, but I just want to let you guys know. Backlash change will change the contact spot also. That's all for the backlash portion. And now slap on the oil seal, then the cover, and then I'll be done with this. Make sure you torque down everything, and if you forgot to note the torque spec, here's the spec again. This will apply for most Nissans: S13, 14, S15, Z33, and Z34. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm sure there's sections that's kind of hard to understand or see. Next time I'll get some video guy and do a little bit better. My next project, I want to do a final swap video, and I also want to do another video with the dial type adjuster. So basically there's no shim, but there's a dial adjuster, like on the MX-5 Miata, the old Corolla AE86. They all have the dial style adjuster, and many old Toyota has one too. So I want to do that video and the final swap video. Okay, until next time, bye bye. Oh, one more tip on the oil seal. Apply a thin layer of silicone around the oil seal, and that will help kind of work as a lubricant to make this go inside smoothly, and also it will seal up the seal very well. So that's what I normally do, just real thin layer of silicone. Okay, and then I do have a fancy oil seal installation tool somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So I normally use the old oil seal, put it on top, and tap, 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 and just use the old oil seal to drive the new one in. That's all. Bye-bye. If you're watching this section of the video, that means you watched most of the video. So thank you very much for watching. And here's the finished product. Looking better than before. I'm still waiting for a couple more parts, like the new vent tube. And I also need to get a new O-ring for this little guy. And once that is in, I'm done with this. But if you're attempting to do the install yourself, when you start the job and remove the cover off, practice using the dial gauge. So you'll know at least where you're starting from, the original backlash, and you get to practice using the gauge. And if you'll be saving a lot of money if doing this yourself. So my recommendation is invest in a good vise to help you a lot down the line. And also a press like this, not only for the differential, but you can use this for suspension bushings, subframe bushings, hub bearings. There's many uses for this. So it's a good equipment to have, and it will last you a long time. That's it for this section, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.